So here's a question that we certainly didn't think we'd be asking this time last year. Who should be the starting quarterback for the 49ers next season, Brock Purdy or Trey Lance? And one thing worth noting is that we just don't know how healthy Brock Purdy will be. We just have no idea about that. People have speculated that he should be back in time for training camp, but, is he going to miss all of training camp? Is he going to be back a week before training camp? Will he be able to go fully in training camp? Will he not be able to go until week 1 of the season? Will he be able to go week 1 of the season? It's just questions we don't know. But for now, all we're doing in the offseason is speculating about stuff anyway. Why not just speculate and say, if he is ready to go, who should be the starter? Because one thing that I think was a criticism of Purdy that I pushed back on a little bit, but there is still some truth to it, is what's going to happen on this play. It's designed to be a play action. You get the linebackers out of position. You throw over the middle to the route that I've circled in white. That will be Deebo Samuel's route on this play. You also have Brandon Ayuk clearing out the corner who's in that area. So, concept, one of these classic Kyle Shanahan play-action concepts to get somebody open. Watch how when this play begins, you see that this play works out really well. I mean, Deebo Samuel is wide open. This is an easy throw for Purdy to make. Purdy is going to make this quick throw, and you see Deebo Samuel make the grab, and watch what Samuel does after the catch as he just runs the rest of the way for a touchdown. I'm not going to sit here and say this was every single play that Purdy made, but this was a chunk of them. The reality is Purdy's greatest asset, and what I said every week when I made one of those film studies about him, is that what he does incredibly well is he's a player in this offense. He's someone who does his role in the offense, gets the ball to all these talented players because they have so many talented players. That is the advantage that Purdy has that some other quarterbacks didn't quite do as well. And while maybe this wouldn't work in a bad situation, who cares? You're not in a bad situation. You're in a good situation, and all you're looking for is who's going to run your offense the best. You don't care about who could run a bad offense the best because you're not a bad offense. However, going over to this play, talking about Trey Lance now, I thought that Trey Lance showed that he can do this as well. Now, he definitely had some, he had training wheels. I think, my podcast co-host Kyle said, on the offense, the training wheels had training wheels. It was definitely a toned down offense. I thought they started to open it up a little bit this year, but he played in the rain game, and then he played a little bit in the Seattle game. When he had to make plays, he did. Again, this kind of a simple route against this coverage, but with how far off the defensive back is playing, definitely something that can get open. Watch how when Lance takes the snap, you see that right here, Ayuk is open. Lance, says, you're open. Let me get the ball to you quickly. As you see, that's exactly what he does, and Ayuk is able to do, again, good stuff after the catch, because that's what the 49ers do, is they do great stuff after the catch. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to get a quarterback who can get the ball to your talented receiver's hands consistently, and the reality is, I think it's fair to say that Trey Lance has yet to show you that he can't do that. I think would be maybe the way you phrase it, although Purdy has shown you that he can do it. So then the question becomes a fair question of what do you do with these two players? I do think, personally, I think it's reasonable to say that Trey Lance has shown more in terms of just ceiling than Brock Purdy has. Just watching their college tape, Brock Purdy is someone who, again, I'm sure you can find someone out there who was pounding the table saying Brock Purdy was going to be a superstar, but most people weren't. Most of us watched the tape and said, okay, there's some nice things here, but some issues here. The issue with Trey Lance was really we just haven't seen much of him in college because his college tape was weird. He played in a situation that was so easy for him to thrive in, but the tools were definitely there with Trey Lance. He was such a physical, I don't want to say physical specimen, but he has all the tools, right? He checks every single box. That's maybe the better way to phrase it. If he has the arm, he ran the offense well. It was just, he never had to get to a second read because the first read was always wide open. So, when he did have to, I think he did a fine job at it, but, the 3 times it happened, but, it just didn't happen very often, and he had, a month in the pocket if you, back there. So for Lance, it's always, and it still is, just the question mark of sample size. That's the only real issue you can have against Trey Lance, I think. Maybe, some nitpicks, sure, but major issues, that's the only real issue is the sample size. Brock Purdy, while he is a small sample size himself, it's a bigger sample size, and the reality is the 49ers did not lose with him out there. The first time they lost, he was the Eagles game, which I don't think you can hold against him. So I think it's just a fascinating situation, and we have seen this happen a couple of times where teams have been in this spot and we're unsure of what exactly you do. The first two that pop into my mind, the first one would be the Dak Prescott, Tony Romo situation, where Romo was an established good quarterback, but Dak Prescott comes in as a rookie and the team is winning a bunch and they stick with Dak Prescott. They end up losing in the first round of the playoffs, and many people kind of it's a great what if Tony Romo stayed out there? Would he have been better suited for that game or not? The other comparison that comes to mind for me was Minnesota was in a spot where they had, Case Keenum that one year where they were winning a bunch. They have Case Keenum. The other quarterbacks there were Sam Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater were both there, and both had better careers than Keenum, but Keenum was winning, so they stuck with Case Keenum, which, it's a little bit different here, though, right? Because in those scenarios, you're saying, do we go with an established good player or do we stick with the guy that's working? Here, it's do you stick with the guy that's working in Brock Purdy, or do you go with someone who you don't know if they're good or not, but they have a higher ceiling? They are a better player, and I guarantee you, if you decided you were going to trade either Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, the Trey Lance package you'd get back would be better than the Brock Purdy package, and I think that that's actually fair. But again, your goal is not who is the player who would get more on the open market. What your mindset is who is the player who I would rather have for my team next season. And to me, I think that there's very valid arguments on both sides. I do. What would I do? I would have an open competition. And I know that kind of sounds like a cop-out, but I really don't think that I have the information to make this decision. I think I would need to know what happens in practice. I would need to know who has, better training camp. If Purdy isn't 100%, then I probably do go with Lance. And the reality is, whatever you decide, it's going to be tough. Because if you do put in Purdy and he has a couple of bad games, people are going to ask for Lance. If you do put Lance in and he has a bad couple of games, people are going to ask for Purdy. That's just the situation. But at the end of the day, you're the head coach. You got to do what's best for the football team. And I think that it's hard to say exactly what's best for the football team now. But when preseason comes along and you have both of these guys getting some first-team reps, there probably will be a favorite to emerge, and unless it's complete 50-50, and then I don't know what you do, but there's probably going to be a favorite, and whoever seems like is doing better in practice and in preseason, I just go with that guy. And again, if it doesn't work out in the regular season, then you can try to make something happen there and make a shift there. But that's kind of the way that I view it. What do you think? Who would you have start, Trey Lance or Brock Purdy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.